Good morning. I'm Jim Csek with Kelowna Now. On the phone with me, Ian Burns, all the way from Ottawa, our managing editor. With your morning need to know, I think we should change the show to the really big show. What do you think, Ian?
I think that's a pretty good idea. That hasn't been in use for some time, so probably due for a comeback.
There you go. The really big show. Ed Sullivan. Hey, there you go. Starting off, kicking off the really big show. Everybody's still talking about it. The planned tariffs, and Trump saying he's not going to exempt Canadian oil and gas. It sounds like in the back channels things have gotten a lot softer. But again, didn't he write that book, The Art of the Deal? He likes to
He did,
negotiate
yeah.
hard and come from a position of strength, and then obviously as the deal gets closer, things will get better.
But it's all just, yeah, a lot of mixed signals because this has come from some two unnamed sources that Reuters said that they spoke with.
Right.
So, I mean, we don't know who they are. We don't know how, but they say they're well placed.
But
I mean,
if you
it
think about it,
could be his sons for all we
if
know.
you think about it, the his big election, one of the things he ran on was fixing the border, and now he's got Canada and Mexico, like really focusing on the border as well as the United States. So obviously, if you want to draw attention to something and make people take notice, you throw out some stuff that's going to cause a lot of kerfuffle and draw attention to it.
Yeah, well, I suppose the rationalists out there that are observing this are hoping that that is the case, but Trump, he does do things that don't really make a lot of sense sometimes, doesn't he?
Well,
Like during his first presidency, and he has followed through. Like he really alienated Canada in a lot of ways back in the day, in 2016 to 2020, when he put tariffs on steel and aluminium, or aluminum, I should say, and that was a bit odd, wasn't it? Almost like self-destructive, but it's hard to say with Trump. I mean, I guess that's another part of his power, isn't it? Because we don't know. We don't know what he's going to do.
I mean, to me, if I'm looking at it from a negotiation point of view, um, this has been a problem in Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. border, fentanyl, all that stuff, and he's got everybody's attention. So hopefully, if you got everybody's attention, everybody will work towards a solution that protects the citizens of all the three nations.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? But
There you
I
go.
somehow doubt that he's going
I'll
to
be
do
the
anything
optimist.
about.
You be the pessimist in this, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. I doubt he's going to do anything about all the guns coming into Canada, is what I was going to say, because that's been happening. How long has that been happening now for? Since the dawn of time? I mean, nothing ever seems to be done about that, and I doubt anything ever will. So it's kind of a one-sided approach, as usual, from Donald Trump.
Our friend Jagmeet Singh, the NDP leader, he wants to kind of separate that proposal from the Liberals to say let's cut the GST now, get that GST holiday, and make a new plan on the $250 check so that more people get the check as opposed to just the ones that have earned money. He wants it to go to people that didn't even get file a tax return and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, well, and in many ways, he's entitled to do that because, again, in many ways, he is the boss, isn't he? Because if Trudeau doesn't get his consent, then it's not going to happen.
It was kind of like funny that the Liberals put out there that Pierre Poilievre wants to stop this GST thing. Well, what does Pierre Poilievre have to do with it? We know that he has no real say in it. It's the Liberals and the NDP. So putting the blame on it's just disingenuous politics, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and there's also it's a very interesting question about seniors because obviously they already receive an enormous amount of largesse from the federal government, don't they? So I think they were excluded for a reason because they already account for so much of
Yeah, I
the
mean,
government's budget.
to me, I think the United States or one of their proposals is no tax on seniors, and I think that would be great if you don't no tax on CPP, OAS, and the rest of it. There's what you can do for seniors right out of the gate. Zero tax. They've paid their dues. They've paid their tax for 65 plus years. Let them go and take their CPP and OAS tax free. That would be a strong message. And I would say the same thing about veterans, especially our military. If you want to really recognize veterans, as soon as they've retired after 20 years of service or something like that, say they don't pay any more tax. They've paid their dues already. How's that?
The seniors, the veterans thing sounds pretty reasonable and probably affordable, but the seniors thing would absolutely not be affordable. I don't think it would. That would necessitate huge tax increases because already most of our taxes pay for seniors. That's the point of taxation, almost, isn't it? The people who work give money to the people who
I
can't
bet
work
you
or don't work.
if we get a Doge up here in Canada, we can find the money. Less money for
Yeah,
apps,
it all.
less money for
That's gonna
green.
be that's gonna be the catchphrase for the next 10 years, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
get the Doge on it. The Doge
yeah.
can fix it.
Less money for green slush funds that they won't reveal the documents for. Less less money for the We charity. Less money. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of waste out there. We could find the money.
Yeah, but still, even that, what you've mentioned there, I don't think it even scratches the surface of the senior industrial complex of many, many, many billions of dollars every year.
I'd be an accountant willing to work on that to see if we could get that done for seniors.
Maybe you should start Doge. That should be your mission.
I would take the job on gladly. As long as they give me all the documents I get to look at and see where all the money went, because apparently our finance minister doesn't know where a lot of the money goes. Odd, no?
Well, it's certainly, as I say many times, it's not a good look for the government, really, is it?
Danielle Smith in the news, protecting Alberta from a production cap. She's saying she's going to use Alberta's Sovereignty Act to protect Alberta economy and workers from the federal government's oil and gas production cap. There you go. So she's going to ban them from coming on sites. Danielle
Yeah,
Smith
that's
will
like
not back down.
seems quite an escalation to me. I don't know if
Yeah.
that kind of thing's ever happened before, to be honest, but it seems pretty
Well,
intense, doesn't it?
you've got two provinces pushing back hard with Scott Moe and Danielle Smith.
And don't forget the original pushback province of Quebec.
Yeah, they push back hard on everything. I mean, they've always looked after themselves, right?
Yeah, they're very much Quebec first, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying it, right? And they seem to get their way a lot of times too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think even they wouldn't reject that characterization, would they? It's
Hmm.
a
I mean, they
fundamental
would proudly say
part of their politics.
they would proudly say it's their right.
Yeah, but now Alberta seems to think it wants in on the action too, and Saskatchewan and Manitoba actually a little bit. If you start listening to what they say lately, not many provinces left that are Canada inclined, Canada first.
Big election results. We didn't put that in here, but big election results out of the East Coast, right? Liberals almost
Yeah,
wiped out.
completely destroyed, weren't they? Yeah,
Yeah,
not
big
good.
conservative
Not a good
win.
sign for the federal Liberals, is it?
Big conservative win. But the more glaring thing was the big loss for the Liberals. And is that a sign of things to come when the election shows up? I think so.
Well, those provinces, the maritime provinces, have been Liberal for quite a long time now, haven't they? And it
Yeah.
hasn't made a lot of sense to political analysts who've looked at it because they tend to be more, the sort of people you'd expect to vote for the Conservatives. But it seems now, if the polls are to be believed, it seems now that that flip has actually occurred, and they're going to go over to the Tories.
Well, I think, like a lot of liberal policies is divide the pie, right? And the pie keeps shrinking because they don't have any emphasis on growing the pie. Their emphasis is on distributing the pie. And I think that seems the pie gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and people are starting to see that that's not really beneficial to in the long run, right? If the pie keeps getting smaller, you divide it amongst more people and more people and more people.
Yeah, we want bigger pies, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then here's part of that. Canada consumer debt reaches record-breaking $2.5 trillion, and a lot of that is people using credit cards to buy groceries. And there's a reason for
Yeah,
that. That the Liberals, government, NDP seem to ignore. They think a $250 check is going to fix this.
yeah. I mean, that has the potential to be received in the opposite way to which it's intended, isn't it? As like almost like an insult, as like as a kind of gesture of a patronizing gesture that just doesn't cut it.
Yeah, I can remember in one of the things where I worked at a site, mine site, and we were promised large bonuses. I think I shared this with you. Large bonuses if we get to production, and that would equal to like half the salary if the senior team was promised that. And then obviously financing didn't work out at the time, so I got a call from the CFO saying, "What if we just give everybody a $50 Walmart card instead?" I was like, better not to give them anything than to insult them, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Or at least give them some kind of hope, like change in a law or a change in a tax or something like that, so it feels
Well,
like the
they
future might be
chose to do the
brighter.
Walmart card, and my office was full of people really, really angry that were insulted, just like this $250. Like, people can't pay their bills. People are record food bank lineups, scurvy in Canada, and then you insult their intelligence by saying you're taking GST off groceries when there is no GST really on groceries. There's GST on snack foods, and then you offer them a $250 check. Like that's gonna fix everything, and then tell people that they don't even understand what's going on, that it's really good, that it's just that they just have a bad vibe. It's like
Vibe
it's like
session.
so out of touch.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is quite interesting, isn't it? Because obviously the Biden government gave out quite a lot of money, didn't it? A lot of checks after the pandemic, and I
Yeah.
think they assumed that would sort of win loyalty, wouldn't it? But obviously that didn't happen. So again, I
Nope.
wonder if they've looked south of the border and learned any lessons, because the Biden government, of course, also said what Chrystia Freeland is saying about the vibes. They said it in a slightly different way, and obviously it didn't work for Biden or the Democrats.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think you and I talked about this yesterday, but we didn't talk about it on the air here. But Walmart rolling back its DEI policies, joining a growing list of major corporations doing the same thing. Um, and we've even seen things like AOC removing her pronouns. It's a changing world, but obviously CBC did a story on it, and wants to investigate how this is going to affect Canadian employees and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Well, the people that they interview in that story and the people that are upset are the ones that like consultants and people that run groups and whatnot that are in this kind of DEI world, because they prospered sort of
yeah, a lot of funding was put in
unimaginably, didn't
towards it,
they?
and so a lot of people built out businesses and stuff like that. And the same thing goes for the climate existential crisis stuff, where there's people that make a lot of money off of it instead of working towards solutions like being better stewards for um, the environment. They use a lot of. We're going to talk about it later. We're going to show you some of the stuff. It'll be more interesting when we get to that after here, but. Another article from CBC: Canada's 989 suicide prevention line taking around 1,000 calls a day. That is a crazy amount of calls.
Yeah, and to think what it must, what how low you must feel to actually have to call that number. That tells you
But
that there are a lot of very, very, very desperate people in
but
Canada.
and that speaks to Chrystia Freeland again with the vibe session, not understanding what's actually going on, like the record food bank lineups. This, all kinds of things point to that this they have not for 9 years been doing a good job. They've had this steering wheel for 9 years. Take some responsibility for where we're at.
Yeah, recognition goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it would certainly help to acknowledge that a huge number of people in this country are really suffering. And food banks, consumer debt, these are all indicators. But then, suicides and the suicide prevention line, that's the worst of the worst, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's very upsetting, I think.
You put this one in here. Korea's fertility rates likely to rebound first time since 2015, and we're seeing that in most countries in the world that their fertility rates have dropped right off. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's worth looking at the numbers there. So it's 0.74 up, and they think, oh, sorry, it's going to go from 0.72 up to 0.74, which is still the lowest in the world, probably like just about the lowest ever seen anywhere at any point in history. Kind of, unfathomable, really, that they've got to this low pass. But I suppose it's still somewhat optimistic, somewhat positive that they might increase it by a tiny little fraction, because you know people who look at this in Korea, they assume that it could be the end of Korea, basically, the end of the Korean people, because
That
they're
is
just
an
gonna.
existential crisis when the population stops populating, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't take many generations for that to really come to a head. There is countries out there right now promoting population growth, Denmark, Russia, different places like that, and we should be encouraging young families.
I think the only problem usually when in Canada, for example, Canada has an extremely low fertility rate, about 1.3, 1.4, something like that, which is just like, again, that kind of makes your head explode if you know anything about demographics and the fertility rate. But whenever you read stories in Canada, it's always, well, I haven't got enough money, I don't have this. It's usually about cost of living.
Yep.
But the truth is that the countries with the highest birth rates in the world have very, very low material standards. They're very poor. They're mostly in Central Africa. These are countries where they can't be certain of the amount of calories that they're going to get day to day, and yet that's where people are having kids. So it's obviously not just about money, and I think it's very complicated. I think it's hard to figure out what to do, and that's why Korea, for example, is in such a troubling position.
Yeah, and then the postal strike doesn't look like there's any end in sight. The
Yeah, that
talks have
means
ground to a halt. Um,
all
and
those
there's
flyers are not going to be delivered to you
and
now,
that's well, it's the busy time
unfortunately.
of year though too. This is where they can actually make some money,
No, it's true.
delivering
Yeah.
parcels and stuff like that. Even that check from grandma to like her grandson or granddaughter, that comes in the mail with a card and like a $20 bill or something like that.
Or from Uncle Justin as well, but I'm sure that's going to be electronic.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, it seems to be they're miles apart, right?
Yeah, I mean there are an awful lot of official documents that basically exclusively come through Canada Post. That's where it's worrying as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of companies still rely on that to pay bills with each other. Like they mail checks, like business to business. I think a lot of that reliance is still with Canada Post, because you don't want to FedEx a check to somebody. You know what I mean? It's still kind of cumbersome to make payments through like e-transfer now, because there's maximum amounts of money on e-transfers, and then credit cards cost businesses 3%. So Canada Post still plays a big role in checks, right? So I guess you could I guess scan the check too, and scan the check and mail it. I mean, that'd be one way to do, because you don't really even need a check anymore. You just need a picture of the check. So there you go. I just
Yeah,
came up with
that's
an
right.
idea.
Yeah.
So if you were looking to pay your
Yeah.
bills, you can probably take a picture of your check that you're going to pay off another business, and scan it or take a photo of it and send it to them.
You fixed it.
Fixed it just like that. The world fixes itself. We did a lot of videos yesterday, a lot of video interviews. They'll be up later today, I imagine. Renee Merrifield with our regular Beyond the Ballot show. Good show yesterday. Um, I'm sure that'll go up today. Also had in Gavin Dew, new conservative MLA for British Columbia, the shadow minister for jobs and innovation. We talked a little bit about jobs and innovation, and even the Airbnb. We talked Airbnb in Kelowna, and that they're going to fight for that Airbnb policy. And then after that, we had the city manager Doug Gilchrist in from the city of Kelowna to talk about 2024 and looked ahead to 2025 and some of the good things and what we can expect in 2025. So 3 good interviews yesterday. We can look forward to those today, I imagine, Ian.
Yep, I would say so.
There you go. And then our meme of the day, and I think, Rommel, do you have your little, yeah, he's got the meme of the day little graphic there to go up to, and look at that. Well, the meme of the day is Jagmeet Singh saying, I'm giving Trudeau the 150th warning to support me or else. He will not get another warning. Not kidding this time.
Well, I suppose Trudeau's on such thin ice that even a warning is actually quite scary, isn't it? Because I mean, his government could fall as soon as Jagmeet Singh says enough's enough. That
Yeah,
could be the end of his
but
government.
he
So
keeps
it's
posturing that he's going to say enough's enough, but then he doesn't, right? So that's why that meme is so.
yeah, I get it, but all I'm saying is Trudeau is right to be very anxious. So
Yeah.
I suppose
But I mean,
it's not just the case that
talking with Mario Conseco, saying like some of this distaste is going to rub off on the NDP too, because people do see that he's the one holding them in power, and so. I mean, we've seen that poll from Main Street showing that the Conservatives are going to have a massive majority, and it'll come at the expense of the Liberals and the NDP.
yeah, in that poll the NDP was still. I think they had more. Yeah, they did. They had more MPs than the Liberals, didn't they?
Yeah.
And
So
still
the
about the
bloc
same
would
as
be
what they
the
are now.
official opposition, the NDP second, and then the Liberals just in front of the PPC.
Oh, the Greens, I think they've got one,
I
haven't
think
they?
that the PPC was in there somewhere too, right? So
They seem to have fallen off the edge of the earth, really. But yeah, I guess they'll be somewhere 1%, 2%, something.
yeah, I think they're yeah, like similar to the Green Party, right? So and then we're talking about climate stuff, and here we go with Mark Zuckerberg. We're going to play this clip here. Mark talking about how we need to do stuff.
How about stopping climate change before we destroy the planet and getting millions of people involved manufacturing and installing solar panels? We get that our greatest challenges need global responses too. No country can fight climate change alone or prevent pandemics. Progress now requires coming together, not just as cities or nations, but also as a global community.
So yeah, so while he's making that speech, they're showing his $300 million, 387-foot mega yacht powered by 4 colossal diesel engines, and that's a pretty big boat.
People like that must be absolutely despised by like the true Greens, the real environmentalists
I mean, if somebody
must
really cared, like
absolutely loathe Mark Zuckerberg.
it's like John Kerry and those guys. Like they scream at you that you shouldn't be doing this, that, and another thing, and meanwhile they're traversing the world, living in the lap of luxury. Like I mean, that yacht is pretty massive, right? Mega yacht, like.
It isn't even just the yacht, is it? I mean, his company, which you could very easily make the argument his company is worthless and pointless. It serves no like real useful purpose. But think about the amount of energy it must consume in servers and all the rest of it. And then he flies everywhere. He's got a house in Hawaii. He's got a house in California. Like, I mean, he is the last person on earth who should be talking about this kind of thing, really, unless he was going to actually make a sort of personal lifestyle change.
Yeah. And then Starlink, they got FCC approval to do direct to cell programs, so that they've been granted that commercial license with T-Mobile. So there you go. So that's happening in the U.S., and I'm sure it'll happen here in Canada because Rogers has a deal too, right? So you can have cellular communication with no dead spots. Pretty big deal. And then X.com is now the 6th most viewed website in the world. Kind of like fights against the narrative that some networks are saying that X is not worthless and nobody goes to it. Seems like people go. Apparently,
Yeah, it's
somebody's going there.
certainly it has a niche that no other platform has been able to capture, even though there have been so many attempts. It seems to just have that niche.
And I think like to me, like YouTube is I think the most visited website in the world. And I think YouTube, I like YouTube. It's a great learning center, right? You can learn almost anything on YouTube. If you've got something at home, a furnace you want to fix or anything like that, you go on YouTube and you usually find out how to do it, right? YouTube is a great how-to, great place to learn stuff. I use it a lot for finance stuff. I use it a lot for a lot of different things. And X is really good for news, like really good for news. And most political leaders use it. You can find out information there before it ever hits any network.
Yeah, and often a news story is little more than an X post, really. When it comes to politicians that make statements, for example, or like this Trump thing, which has dominated the news for the last 2 days. That was all from social media post. Obviously, it was from Truth Social, but still.
Yeah, he's releasing statements on there trying to drive traffic to his own platform as well, but it gets reposted, I think, on X as well.
Yeah,
it's funny.
I mean,
you find Elon Musk on X, but he doesn't go on any other platforms, right? Like he's not on Truth Social. You won't find him on LinkedIn. I think, what did he say? Because I post on LinkedIn. What did he say?
and he said something like it's hugely cringe or something, wasn't it?
So he called me cringe, I guess, because I post on LinkedIn. I use it a lot for like business stuff and that, and how it affects our economy, because that's where a lot of the business people are. But
I feel like that's probably part of his kind of war, isn't it, with Bill Gates? He really doesn't seem to like Bill Gates.
Yeah, because I watched, I think it was a piece on CNN where they were saying that no billionaire should own a media platform, and then one of the other persons said, "What about Bill Gates? Because he own it." I think Scott Jennings said that. They said, "Yeah, Bill Gates is sane, not crazy like Elon Musk. Bill Gates is okay because he does own a media platform. He owns LinkedIn. It is a media platform."
And I mean, he's got shares in all kinds of media companies as well, hasn't he? He's very much involved in media.
And Facebook is a media platform. It's owned by a billionaire as well. Facebook is owned by Zuckerberg.
Yeah, well, it seems to, if you've got a big media platform, you're probably going to be a billionaire, aren't you? So it's kind of
so Facebook
inevitable.
is one of the largest media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp all under that Meta umbrella, right? So,
yeah.
And then Google, obviously, a huge platform as well with YouTube and Google Search, and not doing so well in the AI world with Gemini though. They got that out of the gate the wrong way.
They keep trying to redeem themselves, don't they? It seems to be a little bit better now, the search, when they do the AI summary at the top. But I mean, it's still not as good as ChatGPT.
I mean, their biggest faux pas was trying to rewrite history, right? So there you go.
Well, and also just like they clearly released it too soon because it was getting like really obvious facts wrong and that kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hey, don't let facts get in the way of a story.
Or an AI product.
There you go. In the markets this morning, gold, again, just kind of bouncing around in that area there, trying to find its way forward, but I think it'll chop a little bit here for sure. So it's still above the $2,600 mark, but you can see again that drop. That's a year-to-date chart. You can see that drop off from the November 5th election, and that has to do with the strength of the U.S. dollar more than anything. Again, the markets have said that the Donald Trump election is a good thing. Crypto, looking like it wants to challenge that $100,000 mark again, looking like it wants to go at it. That'll be a tough one psychologically, and that's just because it's a tough psychological number, right? So, and that's a year-to-date chart as well. So, will it challenge 100,000? Even if it does break the $100,000 mark, it might come. You know what I mean? It'll bounce around there probably for a while. But
it's a very bouncy commodity, isn't it?
But the outlook for it is very positive with the incoming Trump administration that says, like they're gonna favor it. So the factors of positivity for Bitcoin looks good. You can't deny that. And then a new. We talked about like some of the TSX entrants. We talked about Garage and Dynamite. That they went public just a few days ago. GRGP, I think, is the symbol on that one. I think IPO'd at $20. It's kind of like around $20. But A&W Food Service Canada, public just recently as well, came out around $41. And here's a bargain: you can get A&W for $36.90 or something like that today.
Yeah, or you could go to A&W and get a burger for that, probably.
$36? Well, maybe you get two. But you know what? In all fairness, A&W, they do have if I am gonna have a fast food burger, I tend to favor A&W. I'm trying to avoid fast food stuff, but A&W with their hormone free, I think they got a few things that, which is if you had to eat, I think you're a McDonald's guy, aren't you, Mickey D?
I mean, if I was gonna go with any fast food, probably, yeah. I mean, I do like In-N-Out burger, but you can
Yeah.
only get that in
Hey,
America and
In-N-Out
only in a few
is
states.
In-N-Out is clearly a cut above, right? Do you know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
but they do like basically cheeseburgers and fries and milkshakes, right? There's not a lot of options, but like they do it well. Every time
Yeah,
I go to
it's like a
Vegas or
time
something.
capsule as well, isn't it? It's great.
I think the last time I went to Vegas to CES, which I'm going again this year, I think I frequented In-N-Out several times as my preferred option to eat.
Yeah. Well, the reason that they're so restricted geographically is because they get everything from the same like HQ, don't they, in
Mm.
Texas or somewhere like that, or wherever it is, I don't know. But they get all the ingredients and they use them that same day, don't they? I think that's probably why it's so good.
Yeah, there's one guy there. I talked to a few of the employees there one time because I'm just interested. And just like they make the potatoes fresh. They have like a potato guy that he just cutting spuds and like everything is just fresh, right? And they do fast food really well. I would say it's like the it would be a model for a lot of people to follow. But I know it's tough when you're shipping foods across. Like even Tim Hortons is a bit of an uproar right now because they ship most stuff half cooked or something like that. Like even the donuts, they don't make them fresh in store anymore.
Well, yeah, that's stuff like that will catch up with you, I think. And that's
Yeah,
why
I mean it's
a lot of these fast food companies they advertise their like freshness, don't they? Like Wendy's always says that as well.
yeah, they used to Wendy's used to troll like McDonald's, right? Like because they say never frozen, and then McDonald's was advertising that and said like, well, ours never were. Why were you freezing or something like that? They troll each other sometimes, but
Yeah, but they're owned by the same company, aren't they? Wendy's and Tim's, I think.
yeah, Wendy's and Tim's, I think, yeah, but not Mickey D there, right? Um, that's a favorite of Donald Trump, McDonald's and KFC.
KFC, I didn't realize he was a KFC guy.
Yeah, according to RFK, that's what's on that plane all the time. It's not like prepared foods. It's like buckets of chicken or Mickey D and
I
Coca
wonder
Cola.
I wonder what Burger King feels about the favoritism shown to its biggest rival there.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I've never been a Whopper fan, but like I say,
I don't know how, I honestly, with Burger King, I don't know how they still survive. I don't know anybody that says like that they're a Burger King guy.
I think they're very popular in the States, though. I think they're same as that Sonic in the States. We digress quite a bit, though. Sonic has a lot of cheap food, that's for sure.
Just making people hungry at this point.
In our AI segment, we're going to try to do something all the time. I just got the iPhones right there, the iPhone 16, and I connected it with my Chat GPT. So Apple Intelligence is running, and I've been starting to experiment with it. It's pretty good. Like it does some text to action, which is great. Like I can, with voice, send an email and stuff like that and create this graphic. I just said with a voice command, I won't say the name because it'll activate itself. I said, create me a graphic on Apple Intelligence, and there you go. There's your graphic that it created today for me to show you what it can do.
And is that just for the 16?
I don't know. I don't know and I've got it connected to my computer now because the Apple has that kind of like garden where everything kind of works together. I have it working on my laptop, my desktop, and my watch, and this thing here. So they're all kind of like working together. Sending all my information to somebody, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah, harvesting your data.
Harvesting my data to be used for what have you.
Yeah.
We're also doing like AI EV. So in our EV segment, more and more deals coming for Teslas. A lot better deals in the United States than in Canada. But right now you can get 0% financing if you buy FSD in Canada, like on a Model Y. Plus they're giving you 3 months of free self-driving. And then plus there's referral credits and stuff like that, so you can get that price down. So you get a $5,000 credit from the feds, plus another $1,000, I think, off, or 16. I can't remember the number, $1,300 off or something like that on the purchase price. So lots of incentives if you're considering buying an EV. I talked to somebody yesterday that bought their first EV it was an interesting conversation. And his response was they've owned the Model Y for a month, and he said, "Why would you buy anything else?" That was his response, and he's a well-known person, and I think he fought it for a while, and then there you go. One more other thing I just wanted to plug. It's coming around the year end. Myself and Ian Burns there, we created this book a number of years ago. It's called Mission Possible. It's a daily planner. I use it. I've been using it for the last couple of years. We're going to start offering this book out there again as people get ready for their new year. It's got a weekly planner in it. But it's kind of cool. We use a little bit of AI here. It kind of creates your own cover, your spirit animal based on your numerology, astrology, Chinese, and the Indian zodiac. And based on your name and your birth date, it creates you a cover and then creates you a custom inside cover and tells you even your theme song to kind of get you going on your mission possible. There you go.
Looking beautiful there, that cover.
Yeah, you like that? So that's my spirit
Very
animal.
good.
That's my spirit animal.
Is it a bald eagle?
It is a bald eagle, yeah. There you go. Soaring to new heights.
Yeah.
Working towards a better tomorrow for everybody. I think that's what I see AI and EV and all that stuff to come to. It's like we need to be better stewards of our environment, 100%. But we need to do it without punishing people, especially when people don't realize that a carbon tax is not just a pump tax; it's a compounding tax, right? Because they don't understand the compounding part of it is that because it's when you plant the seed, I don't want to go through this whole story, but when you plant seeds, you harvest seeds, every time that thing moves or is created, there's that tax is being added, and it compounds as it moves through till the end consumer. GST, on the other hand, is an end user tax. So there's a big distinction between the two, right? An end user tax is only the end users paying the tax, right? Because it's refunded as it goes through the system with credits and that, but not the carbon tax. It's a compounding tax. Does that make sense, Ian?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, another term for GST is a consumption tax, which I think is very good, very descriptive, isn't it? Because it's like you only get taxed when you go out and consume and buy things.
Right.
Whereas,
it's meant to be an end user tax, so a consumption tax. That's what its purpose is. Because if a business sells to a business, they get the tax. One pays the tax, one gets it back, and it just kind of flows through the system. So it's being rebated all the time until the end user and that person bears the tax. But with a carbon tax, it is a compounding. This again, drive this point home so fast. Like you see that truck in the background there and the highway there. That truck is paying carbon tax, and that's usually on a bill of lading. They even actually separate it out, and they charge you your shipping, and underneath that, they charge you a carbon tax fee too. But and if we take an example again, I'll just do this example. A slice of bread. It starts off with a tractor planting the seeds, and then another tractor fertilizing it, and all those things. Those tractors are paying carbon tax for their fuel, and then when they harvest it, more, and then they put it in a truck. It's trucked to a granary, and then with a train, it's transported then to a bakery, and on and on and on and on until you drive to the store and pick it up in your car and then take it home and toast it. And carbon tax all along the way.
but the Prime Minister said that most people get more money back.
Yeah, no, yeah. If you count it at the pump and that's it, that's disingenuous in itself, right? By just saying you get more than you pay, right? Directly, some people do. Do you know what I mean? If all they pay, the odd time, if you don't own a car, if you do, like if you don't own a car, directly paying carbon tax, like at the pump, is usually you probably get more back. But that's disingenuous to say that because carbon tax is added to everything, and it's compounded as it moves through the system.
And it also has like huge sort of nation to nation effects as well, doesn't it? Like it's very hard to compete with, for example, the US when they don't have one.
It's
but
our
we
own
do.
self-imposed tariff, if you want to call it that. It's our own self-imposed tariff.
Yeah.
And then people are screaming about tariffs right now. We have a self-imposed tariff that's increasing by like 20% a year.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like every year it just keeps ratcheting up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It gets to pretty crazy
And they've been
levels.
sold this thing, like how it's, anyway, we could do a whole show on carbon tax, but it is a punishing tax, and it punishes the people that can least afford it. And then that's the there is better ways. There is better ways to deal with being good stewards of the environment. There are far better ways.
Yeah, technology probably being number one. Put that money into technology instead.
Again, Norway, for the people out there, go look at the Norwegian oil fund, sovereignty oil fund, and you can see what they've done in their economy. I think 94% of the vehicles in Norway are electric.
Wow.
But they sell that oil and gas to everybody that wants it.
Well, and when Russia invaded Ukraine, and the Germans and the British and all the rest of it were panicking and terrified about where they were going to get their gas from, they all basically turned to Norway. Norway was seen as the kind of the hope, and yet, you know, there they are with their nasty fossil fuels, but they saved Europe, at least at a certain
And their
base level.
citizens benefit from it. Unlike not in Canada, we don't do that, right? Because we have this people that can't see. Anyway, we're going to get too far into the weeds. Anything else you want to add for today? We're going to put a link to this book so you can order this. There you go. I'm going to talk about this book more often too, because we're going to use it. We're going to try and use it and show, like, goal setting is very powerful. And if you can, especially if you train your children to do goal setting early on, it could be a tool that helps them for the rest of their lives.
Definitely, yeah.
There you go. One of our goals should be creating a better world for everybody.
That would be nice.
There you go. Positivity. Anyway, we thank you for watching Kelowna Now.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent.